In April 2016, Tricia Todd, a 30-year-old hospice nurse and mother, vanished from Hobe Sound, Florida. Her 2-year-old daughter, Faith, waited at the babysitter's. Mommy never came. Weeks later, investigators found bone fragments in a remote preserve, dissolved by acid. Her ex-husband, Stephen Williams, confessed. He lured Tricia to an Airbnb, strangled her with a jump rope, beat her with a baton, then dismembered her body with a chainsaw. He dumped the remains in acid to destroy evidence. Williams received 35 years through a plea deal prosecutors called a deal with the devil. But many remains were never found. The evening light filters gold through lace curtains in a small home on a quiet street in Hobe Sound, Florida. April 24, 2016. The air is thick with humidity, the kind that clings to skin and softens edges. Inside, Tricia Todd hums softly as she finishes preparing dinner. Her 2-year-old daughter, Faith, sits on the living room carpet, clutching a stuffed toy and babbling to herself. The house smells of roasted chicken and laundry detergent. Jonathan Todd, Tricia's brother, arrives with a gentle knock and a smile. He kneels beside Faith, teasing her with exaggerated expressions. She giggles. Tricia watches from the kitchen doorway, her face tired but content. They talk about Faith's upcoming daycare activities, about mundane plans for the weekend. The conversation is easy, familiar. After dinner, Tricia carries Faith to her bedroom. She tucks the blanket around her daughter's small frame, brushes a kiss across her forehead, and whispers a prayer. Jonathan watches from the hallway. He notices something. Tricia pauses longer than usual, staring at Faith's sleeping face. He thinks it's just stress from work, from the divorce finalized only months ago. He doesn't ask. Before leaving, Tricia confides quietly. She says she feels free at last. The divorce from Stephen Williams is behind her. She's relieved, hopeful. Jonathan nods, reassured. Outside, neighbors drive past on quiet suburban roads. Children ride bikes in the fading light. Nothing feels wrong. After Jonathan leaves, Tricia returns to the kitchen. She washes dishes slowly, steam rising from the sink. Through the window, twilight deepens into night. She stares out at the darkening sky, a glimmer of peace settling over her. The house is still, ordinary, safe. The next morning, April 25th, Tricia drives to the Hobe Sound Christian Academy gymnasium. The air outside is warm, tinged with salt from the coast. Inside, the gym is cool, filled with the hum of conversation and the squeak of sneakers on polished floors. She joins a morning fitness class, reconnecting with old friends. Marnie Ellis, a friend from school, greets her with a hug. They talk while stretching, voices low but animated. Marnie notices Tricia seems lighter, more herself. She asks how life is going. Tricia smiles, says she's adjusting. She's planning to return to full-time work as a hospice nurse. She mentions wanting to walk on the beach at night, to think, to pray, to clear her head. Marnie laughs gently, says it sounds peaceful, but there's a flicker of concern. She wonders if walking alone at night is wise. She doesn't press the point. Tricia says she's praying for peace, not closure. The distinction feels important, though Marnie doesn't fully understand why. The class ends. Classmates exchange waves and promises to meet again soon. There's a quiet solidarity among them, small-town support, unspoken but present. Tricia drives home, her shift at the hospice later that evening. She works with patients nearing the end of life, offering comfort in their final days. The work is heavy, but she finds meaning in it. That evening, she finishes her shift and returns home. The door closes gently behind her. Inside, the empty house smells faintly of disinfectant and baby lotion. A quiet home, waiting. The night deepens. Nothing disrupts the calm. April 26th, late evening. Tricia's home is softly lit, the air conditioner humming in the background. Stephen Williams, her ex-husband, sits across from her in the living room. Faith is at the babysitter's for the night. The conversation between them is quiet, civil, but edged with tension. Stephen mentions plans to take Faith overnight to North Carolina soon. He asks if Tricia can pick her up later from the babysitter. Tricia hesitates, then agrees. They discuss logistics, times, addresses. Stephen's tone is measured, but there's something beneath it. Old wounds, unresolved grievances. Tricia tells him she wants to rebuild her life here in Hobe Sound. She says it gently but firmly. She's not interested in reconciliation. Stephen nods, his expression unreadable. They talk about money, about visitation schedules. The conversation remains polite, controlled. Phone records later show messages exchanged between them that evening. Details about pickup times. Routine exchanges, unremarkable on the surface, but beneath the words, something shifts. Tricia is drawing boundaries. Stephen is listening but not agreeing. Outside, a neighbor waves from the sidewalk. The street is peaceful, bathed in the soft glow of porch lights. Community life continues, oblivious. After their talk, Stephen leaves. Tricia locks the door behind him, turns off the lights. The house settles into silence, only the hum of the air conditioner and the distant sound of waves breaking on the shore. The night is calm, unremarkable, final. April 27th, early morning. The babysitter's home is quiet, filled with the soft light of dawn. Faith sits on the living room floor, playing with blocks. The babysitter prepares breakfast, glancing at the clock. Tricia was supposed to arrive by now. She calls Tricia's phone. No answer. She waits, tries again. Voicemail. An hour passes, then another. The babysitter grows nervous. She calls a family member, then another. No one has heard from Tricia. Faith keeps asking for her mother, whispering that Mommy will come soon. A neighbor's security camera later shows Faith standing at the window, small hands pressed against the glass, watching for a car that never arrives. The babysitter calls again, leaves another message. By late morning, panic begins to edge into her voice. She contacts Jonathan Todd. He doesn't answer immediately. She leaves a message, then sends a text. When Jonathan finally calls back, the babysitter explains everything. Tricia hasn't shown up. No one can reach her. Jonathan's voice tightens. He says he'll come right away. Faith sits on the couch, clutching her stuffed toy. The babysitter kneels beside her, trying to reassure her. But Faith's eyes are wide, uncertain. The innocence in her whisper, "Mommy will come," underscores how out of character this is. Tricia would never leave her daughter waiting. Never. By midday, the unease has solidified into fear. Something is wrong. April 27th, mid-afternoon, Jonathan Todd's home. The air is thick with humidity, the Florida sun high and relentless. Jonathan sits at the kitchen table with his wife and siblings. They're trying to piece together what's happening. Calls to Tricia's phone go straight to voicemail. They check with neighbors, ask if anyone has seen her. Nothing. Jonathan drives to Tricia's house. Her car is gone. That's the first red flag. He checks the doors, unlocked. Inside, everything looks normal at first. Then he notices details. Her keys are on the counter. Her purse is on the table. Groceries sit unpacked, some items still cold. It doesn't make sense. He calls the family back, tells them what he found. The conversation shifts from concern to alarm. Tricia always takes her keys and purse. Always. If she left voluntarily, she would have taken them. If she didn't leave voluntarily, one of the siblings says it aloud. Maybe something happened to her. The family gathers again at Jonathan's house. They discuss next steps. Should they call the police now or wait a little longer? Some hold on to hope. Maybe she needed space. Maybe she'll call soon. But Jonathan knows. He feels it in his gut. Something is terribly wrong. By evening, the decision is made. They'll file a missing person report. Jonathan sits on his porch, phone in hand, family photos spread on the table before him. The calm before the storm. April 27th, 8:20 p.m. Jonathan's living room. The family is gathered again. Siblings, close friends, all trying to make sense of the situation. They go over every possibility. Beach walks, errands, a sudden trip. None of it fits. Tricia wouldn't leave Faith waiting. She wouldn't leave without her keys, her phone, her wallet. A sibling mentions seeing a car near Tricia's house around 2:01 a.m. the previous night. They didn't get the license plate, didn't think much of it at the time. Now the memory feels significant, but it's vague, incomplete. A friend speaks up. She says Tricia seemed haunted lately. Anxious, tired, but Tricia had dismissed it as stress from starting over after the divorce. The friend wonders now if those small signs were warnings. Outside, the local news site posts an alert: missing Hobe Sound mother Tricia Todd. Neighbors begin sharing the post. Offers of help flood in. Flyers are printed. The community mobilizes, driven by fear and solidarity. But inside Jonathan's house, uncertainty reigns. There are no concrete leads, no video evidence, no signs of forced entry, just a missing woman and a growing sense of dread. By late evening, the family contacts the Martin County Sheriff's Office. The first official call is made. A missing person report is filed. The investigation begins. Jonathan sits alone after everyone leaves. The porch light flickers. Outside, the night deepens, waiting. April 28, 9:00 a.m. Jonathan's living room. Detectives from the Martin County Sheriff's Office arrive. Lead detective, a lieutenant, uniforms. The family sits tense, desperate for answers. The detectives ask about Tricia's routine, her work schedule, her last known contact, her recent mood. Any threats or conflicts? Jonathan and the others recount everything they know. The recent divorce, no known enemies, no recent confrontations. Stephen Williams visited over the weekend, but nothing seemed alarming at the time. The family mentions the groceries left on the counter, the purse and keys inside, the missing phone and wallet. The detectives take notes, asking clarifying questions. They note that Tricia's car is missing, a significant detail. They request information from the DMV, local towing companies. The lead detective quickly flags a pattern. Missing car but purse and keys left behind. That doesn't fit a voluntary departure. If Tricia left on her own, she would have taken her essentials. The detective's expression tightens. This is looking less like a runaway and more like foul play. The local newspaper runs a brief notice. Missing, have you seen her? Community calls begin. Tips trickle in, most of them vague or unhelpful. Anxiety spreads. By afternoon, the detectives secure permission to search Tricia's home. A forensic team is dispatched. The family watches from the driveway as technicians carry equipment inside. Camera flashes illuminate the kitchen, light reflecting off the countertop, the scattered groceries, a snapshot of disruption, frozen in time. April 28th, late afternoon. Inside Tricia's home. Forensic specialists photograph every detail: the groceries, the untouched dishes, the keys and purse left behind. The carport is empty, the car gone. Detectives check nearby homes for security footage, interview neighbors about any unusual activity. No sign of forced entry, or no blood. No noticeable struggle. The house is eerily clean, undisturbed except for the groceries and the absence of the car. Technicians dust for prints, collect fibers, catalog every surface. Nothing stands out. Neighbors provide statements. No unusual noise that night. No visitors at odd hours. One neighbor mentions seeing a car leave around 2:08 a.m., but can't provide a description. Another saw Tricia earlier that evening, waving from her porch. Everything seemed normal. The lead detective reviews the evidence. Photos document the scene in meticulous detail. Purse, keys, groceries, clean rooms. But the absence of the phone and wallet is troubling. Even an angry departure would likely include those items. The detective notes this in the report. By evening, flyers hang on telephone poles throughout Hobe Sound. Tricia's face stares out from community bulletin boards. At the local coffee shop, whispers of the missing mom spread. Disbelief, fear, sorrow. Despite the thorough search, nothing concrete emerges. The investigation faces a vacuum of clues. Time continues slipping away, and with every passing hour, hope dims. As night falls, the Martin County Sheriff's Office organizes a ground search. Volunteers are requested. Flashlights swing through darkened streets. The family stands outside Tricia's home, hugging, praying. No answers, only questions. April 29th, dawn. A beachside trail near Hobe Sound. The early light is soft, the humidity heavy. Waves crash in the distance. MCSO deputies gather with search volunteers, neighbors, family members, friends. The objective is clear. Search beaches, parks, walking paths, anywhere Tricia might have gone. Teams fan out along the sand. Jonathan walks slowly, calling out his sister's name. Volunteers join in, their voices swallowed by the sound of the ocean. Search dogs sniff through dunes, around driftwood, along the tide line. Nothing. The early hope begins to dim. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher, the heat oppressive. Volunteers occasionally find washed-up debris, bottles, shoes, seaweed, but nothing relevant. Search logs note every area scanned, every participant, every lead followed. Still nothing. A volunteer mentions seeing a woman walking on the beach around midnight a few nights ago. Oh, they're not certain it was Tricia, but the memory feels significant. The detective in charge notes the tip, adds it to the growing file. It's vague, but it's something. Maybe Tricia went for one of her late-night walks, and something happened. Local social media groups buzz with activity. The volunteer's sighting is shared, analyzed, debated. Posters circulate. Fear spreads. What if this was foul play? What if someone targeted her? By midday, the Martin County Sheriff's Office issues a formal missing person alert. The public is asked for help. Tips are encouraged, but the search itself yields nothing. The sun climbs high. Searchers shade their eyes, staring at the waves. The sea is empty, unyielding, silent. May 1st, morning. MCSO Command Center, a temporary office set up in a municipal building. The weather outside is overcast, a light drizzle pattering against the windows. Inside, detectives hunker over desks cluttered with paperwork, laptops, coffee cups, phone records, text messages, social media activity. Every known contact Tricia had. In the 72 hours before her disappearance is charted, cross-referenced, analyzed. Call logs show her final outgoing call was late evening, April 26th, to a known friend. Content unknown. Last incoming call from Stephen Williams around 1:30 a.m., according to cell records. After that, nothing. The detectives map cell tower pings. Tricia's phone last pinged from a tower near her home. But her car was gone. That doesn't add up. If she drove away, the phone signal should have moved with her. It didn't. That suggests either she didn't take her phone or the phone was turned off shortly after the car left. The lead detective flags this detail. It raises alarms. Why would someone leave their phone behind? Or, more ominously, why would someone else turn it off? Local news picks up the story. Community asks, "Where is Tricia?" Comments flood online forums. Terrible. Hope she's safe. This town needs answers. Anxiety intensifies. People who never knew Tricia feel the weight of her absence. The data is ambiguous. No definitive link to any suspect yet. The family grows restless, frustrated by the lack of progress. Investigators feel the pressure mounting. Every hour that passes makes recovery less likely. That evening, attention turns to persons of interest. Stephen Williams is at the top of the list. Others are named by the family, friends, acquaintances, anyone with recent contact. The detectives prepare to interview them all. Light from computer screens glows in the empty room. Detectives exchange tired glances. No clarity yet, just more questions. May 2nd, afternoon. A small performance venue in Hobe Sound. A local theater club with modest seating and faint stage lights. The air outside is humid and hot. Inside, the air conditioning hums. Detectives arrive to investigate a lead involving a local ventriloquist performer, rumored to have had romantic interest in Tricia. The venue manager greets them nervously. The detectives ask about the performer's contact with Tricia, whether she attended recent shows. The manager checks guest logs, scrolls through attendance records. No sign of Tricia at any recent performance. Marnie Ellis, Tricia's friend, is interviewed again. She mentions hearing rumors that Tricia was interested in the performer, that she seemed excited about life again. But Marnie admits she doesn't know if Tricia ever actually attended a show. It was just talk. Security camera footage is reviewed. Angles cover the entrance, the lobby, the parking lot. No sign of Tricia approaching the building in the weeks before her disappearance. The performer is contacted, agrees to an interview. He denies recent contact beyond casual conversation at community events. He passes a polygraph exam. No involvement. Marnie expresses regret during her interview. She says Tricia told her she felt excitement again, like life was moving forward. That small emotional detail underscores the tragedy. Tricia was trying to rebuild, to hope she didn't run away. Something or someone stopped her. Local gossip circulates. Maybe she left town. Maybe a stalker was involved. Maybe drugs. Fear mixes with speculation, distorting the truth. The lead is a dead end. The performer is cleared. Investigators hit another wall. The family's despair deepens. Each failed lead feels like another step away from finding Tricia. As night falls, detectives reconvene at the command center to reassess. The empty theater seats sit in darkness. A single spotlight glows faintly, silence where hope once sat. May 5th, late afternoon. A beach walkway near Hobe Sound where Tricia often took nighttime walks. The sun sets slowly, casting soft orange light over the sand. A breeze stirs the dunes. MCSO deputies and coastal area volunteers gather for another search. The theory has shifted. Maybe Tricia went for a beach walk and something happened. Maybe she encountered someone. Maybe she wandered too far. Search teams comb the trails, the dunes, the hidden paths along the coast. They use K9 units, flashlights, volunteers calling out her name. Dogs pick up a scent near the dunes. The handlers follow, excitement building. The scent trail moves inland, away from the beach. It fades near a rarely used service road that leads toward remote preserve land, Hungryland Wildlife and Environmental Area. Investigators flag the area immediately. Photographs are taken. GPS coordinates logged. This is significant. The scent trail suggests someone, possibly Tricia, moved from the beach toward the preserve. Suddenly, the scope of the search expands. The remote woods become critical. Local residents read updates online. Beach search hits new area. Some sign up to help. Tension in the community rises. People wonder if danger lurks close to home, hidden in the thick brush and swampy terrain. But the trail is weak. The dogs lose the scent after a certain point. The preserve land is dense, overgrown, difficult to navigate. Swampy, declining light makes searching dangerous. The teams pause for the night, planning to resume at dawn. Flashlights bob at the forest edge. Silhouettes of dense trees stand against the darkening sky. The woods are unknown, ominous, silent. Somewhere in there, answers might be waiting. May 6th, early morning. The remote road entrance to Hungryland Wildlife and Environmental Area. Fog hangs thick over the woods, the air damp after overnight drizzle. MCSO detectives, Lieutenant Yesenia Card among them, arrive with search and rescue volunteers and a forensic team. They follow the scent trail deeper into the preserve. The terrain is difficult. Roots, mud, mosquitoes. Flashlights cut through the fog. After half an hour of searching, they find it. A plastic tote, partially hidden beneath brush. Rusted tools and saw blades scattered nearby. The discovery shocks everyone. The forensic team photographs everything, bags the items, catalogs the scene. A tarp lies crumpled nearby. Disturbed soil. Chemical traces. Lieutenant Card calls for hazmat and additional search crews. The plastic tote is heavy, filled with something dark and acidic. A forensic technician detects unusual chemical traces, strong acid. This is the first physical sign that something far worse than a disappearance occurred here. Overnight, news of the find leaks to social media. By morning, the community wakes to horror. Rumors swirl. People fear the worst. The plastic tote, the tools, the acid, it all points to something unspeakable. Dense undergrowth and flooded swamps slow the search. Hazmat protocols complicate everything. But investigators press on. By midday, a hazmat crew arrives. The area is cordoned off. A forensic dig is scheduled. The plastic tote sits on a white tarp under daylight. Its weight, its grim implication, hangs heavy over everyone present. This is no longer a missing person case. This is something else entirely. May 7th morning. The dig site at Hungryland Preserve. The weather is overcast, humid. Insects buzz relentlessly. The forensic team works slowly, methodically. Representatives from the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, AFOC, are present. Stephen Williams is former Air Force, so federal jurisdiction applies. Family members wait nearby, unable to approach the site but unable to leave. They sit in their cars, silent, grieving in anticipation. The forensic team excavates carefully. Hours pass. Then, bone fragments, partial remains, a femur piece, pelvic shard, ribs, teeth, all recovered from the acid-stained tote and surrounding soil. Tools and saw blades lie nearby, rusted but identifiable. Toxicology and chemical specialists collect liquid residue for analysis. The scale of the discovery sinks in slowly. This is dismemberment, disposal, destruction. The acid residue confirms strong corrosive chemicals were used, likely to destroy evidence. But not everything could be dissolved. Evidence is catalogued meticulously. Bone fragments, teeth, acid-stained tote, saw blades, plastic container, remnants of gloves, chemical residue, chain of custody is logged. AFOC agents oversee the process. The fragments are sent for analysis. Dental records are pulled. Hours later, confirmation arrives. The remains match Tricia Todd. This is her, what's left of her. News spreads quickly. Local radio airs an alert. National true crime forums buzz with activity. The community reels. Horror transforms into outrage. Calls for justice echo across social media, through phone calls, in whispered conversations. But many remains are missing, destroyed by acid, time, nature. Forensic clarity is limited. The death certificate will likely cite undetermined cause. This complicates prosecution. Defense attorneys will argue insufficient evidence, but investigators know the truth now, and they know who did it. By afternoon, evidence is sealed. Investigators prepare to confront the prime suspect, Stephen Williams. May 8th, morning. Interrogation room, MCSO precinct. The Florida heat presses. Against the windows, outside. Inside, the air conditioning hums. Stephen Williams sits across from detectives, brought in from North Carolina. Lieutenant Yesenia Caird is present. AFOC agents observe. A representative from the prosecutor's office watches from behind glass. Detectives present the evidence. Bone fragments, teeth, saw blades, acid residue. They describe the discovery in clinical detail. Williams trembles. His composure cracks. He denies knowledge at first, then becomes evasive. His story shifts, contradicts itself. The pressure mounts. Hours pass. Finally, Williams breaks. He confesses. He lured Tricia to an Airbnb under the pretense that their daughter Faith was sick. His real intention was to retrieve email credentials. He believed she had damaging information. When Tricia resisted, he strangled her. She lost consciousness. Then she regained consciousness and screamed. He struck her with a military-style baton. Then he strangled her again with a jump rope until she was dead. After killing her, he transported the body to Hungryland Preserve. He dismembered her with a chainsaw, placed the remains in the plastic tote, filled it with acid, dumped it. He agrees to lead authorities to the precise dump site. He provides coordinates, details. The confession is recorded, transcribed. A foci agent's note, chain of custody. Lieutenant Card listens, her face pale. She's heard confessions before, but this is different. The premeditation, the brutality, the cold calculation. Williams reveals he purchased the tools and acid months earlier. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was planned murder. Media headlines begin immediately. Ex-husband confesses in Hobe Sound mom's murder. Shock ripples across the county. Families with children feel unsafe. The quiet town has been shattered. Williams sits handcuffed, head bowed, a man broken. But the truth is finally exposed. May 9th to 10. Multiple sites around the preserve are tested over 2 days. The weather is muggy, unpredictable rain showers interrupting the work. Hazmat crews, AFOSI agents, MCSO deputies, forensic specialists, all search for additional remains. They scour wooded areas, waterways, swamp edges. Despite exhaustive efforts, no additional remains are found. The acid destroyed most of the body. Soil samples are taken, chemical assays run. High acidity is confirmed in the disposal area, but nothing beyond the initial discovery is recovered. No clothing fibers, no personal items, nothing. Forensic toxicologists determined the acid exposure lasted long enough to destroy most organic material. The body is irrecoverable beyond what was already found. This makes determining the exact cause of death impossible. The case will rely on the confession and partial remains, not full forensic confirmation. The community holds a vigil at the edge of the preserve. Candles, tears, quiet prayers. Many fear justice will be incomplete. Some demand full remains. Some call for a harsher sentence. Others just want closure. The legal implications are significant. Without full remains or a clear cause of death, prosecutors face challenges. Can they secure a murder conviction, or should they negotiate a plea to guarantee at least some accountability? The emotional toll on the family is immense. Jonathan Todd stands at the vigil, his face hollowed by grief. He wonders if his sister will ever truly be whole again, even in death. By midday, May 10th, prosecutors begin preparing charges. Plea deal options are discussed. The case is strong but imperfect. Trials are unpredictable. A plea might be the only way to ensure justice. The dig site is sealed, covered. A tarp flaps in the humid breeze. Silent, somber. Evidence secured, but many questions remain, buried along with the rest of Tricia. May 15th, morning. MCSO headquarters, a small conference room. Sunlight streams through the windows. Prosecutor Tom Bakadal, Assistant State Attorney for the 19th Judicial Circuit, sits at the head of the table. The lead detective is present. An AFOSI liaison, Jonathan Todd, represents the family. Bakadal outlines the case. The confession is powerful. The partial remains are conclusive, but he warns about weaknesses. The lack of a full body, unclear cause of death, the risk of acquittal if they go to trial. Juries are unpredictable. Defense attorneys are skilled. He presents the plea deal option. No contest to second-degree murder, plus concurrent sentence for child neglect. 35 years in prison. Full cooperation. No trial. The family representatives debate. Some want a full trial. They want Williams to face a jury, to be publicly condemned. Others want closure. They want the nightmare to end. They don't want to risk an acquittal. They don't want Faith to grow up hearing about a lengthy trial. Jonathan speaks quietly. He wants justice, but he also wants peace. He wants his niece to have a chance at a normal life. After long discussion, the family gives their agreement. Bakadal prepares the plea paperwork. Later, in a private moment, he admits to Lieutenant Card, "I made a deal with the devil." The phrase lingers. It captures the moral compromise, the pragmatic choice forced by circumstance. Local news outlets speculate. Some support the plea for closure, others express anger, distrust. He may walk free sooner than we think. Community debates rage online, in coffee shops, at kitchen tables. Plea papers are filed. A court date is set for autumn sentencing. The case moves forward, but the compromise weighs heavy on everyone involved. October 7, 2016. Morning, a courtroom in Martin County. The weather outside is crisp, the air cool for Florida. Inside, the courthouse is imposing, filled with tension. Judge Lawrence Merman presides. Prosecutor Tom Bacadal stands. Defense counsel is present. Stephen Williams sits, expressionless. Family members fill the gallery. Jonathan, siblings, friends. Sheriff William Snyder attends. Media representatives line the back rows. A mental competency evaluation report is read. Williams is fit to proceed. Bacadal delivers a statement. He describes the horrors revealed during the investigation, the partial remains found, the brutal confession, the rationale for the plea deal. Judge Merman addresses the courtroom. He acknowledges the horror of the crime, the pain of the family, the limitations of the evidence. He notes that the sentence may feel insufficient, but he defends the plea as the only way we get what we have. He imposes the sentence, 35 years in prison for second-degree murder, concurrent 5 years for child neglect. Williams will serve his time in a Florida state prison, eligible for release after serving 85% of the sentence. Court records document everything: the competency report, the plea agreement, the list of recovered remains, the confession transcript, the sentencing order. Media representatives record the scene outside the courtroom. In the gallery, family members sob quietly. Some clutch tissues. Others stare at Williams with undisguised hatred. Outside the courthouse, reporters and community members gather. Some are angry, others are relieved. Behind them, a small vigil. Photos of Tricia, messages for faith. Voices in the gallery shout objections. We wanted a murder trial, death penalty. But the court maintains order. Defense counsel remains silent. The tension is thick, oppressive. Williams is escorted out in handcuffs. Family members leave behind photos and flowers at the courthouse steps. The courtroom empties slowly. One of the photos slips from a table to the floor, forgotten like so much else. Immediately after sentencing, the courthouse exterior steps. Midday sun beats down, harsh and bright. Family members hug, tears streaming. Jonathan speaks to reporters gathered on the steps. He promises to protect Faith, to keep Tricia's memory alive, to give his niece a future free from this nightmare. Some supporters nearby demand appeals. Others accept the verdict, resign to the compromise. Sheriff William Snyder addresses the crowd. He says law enforcement did their best. He believes most of the remains were recovered. He acknowledges the community's pain, promises continued vigilance. Tensions are visible. Some attendees nod in agreement. Others shake their heads, dissatisfied. A woman shouts, 35 years isn't enough. Another responds, at least we have answers. A local resident, tears streaming, says through the cameras, we knew each other since kindergarten. I never thought something like this could happen here. The words capture the fracture in Hobe Sound's sense of safety. Trust, once assumed, now broken. The local newspaper runs a headline the next day. Quiet town gets 35-year sentence, but many want more. The community remains divided, relief mixed with unresolved grief. Some family members express fear that the remains are incomplete. Uncertainty lingers. Media spotlights the limited. Forensic closure. Questions are raised. Did Williams act alone? Are there more remains somewhere? Will the truth ever be fully known? Days later, the family organizes a small memorial at the Hungryland Preserve entrance. A gathering of grief and solidarity. A single candle is lit at dusk before the preserve sign. Memory and mourning converge. The flame flickers in the breeze, casting shadows on the ground. Then, darkness. November 2016. Jonathan Todd's home, late evening. The air is cool, humid. Soft lamplight fills the living room. Jonathan sits with his wife. Faith, now about 3 years old, sleeps upstairs. Family photos are displayed on the walls, Tricia's face among them. After long conversations, Jonathan and his wife make a decision. They will adopt Faith, give her stability, love, a sense of safety. They will raise her as their own, tell her about Tricia when she's older, preserve the memory without burdening her with horror. Adoption paperwork is filed, legal agreements signed, emotional notes and letters are preserved for Faith to read someday. The process is lengthy, but straightforward. By year's end, Faith is legally adopted. Jonathan confesses his fear to his wife one night. He worries that Faith will one day ask, "Why was my mommy taken?" He doesn't know how to answer that question. How do you explain evil to a child? How do you preserve memory without passing on trauma? The local community rallies. Neighbors offer support, casseroles, babysitting, small gifts for Faith. There's a sense of solidarity, a collective desire to protect the child from further harm. Some parents express renewed fear for their own children's safety. The crime has changed everyone. The emotional burden is heavy. Grief, trauma, fear. But the family is determined to provide love and normalcy, to give Faith a chance at happiness. Faith sleeps in a new bed, her room decorated with soft colors and stuffed animals. Jonathan watches over her from the doorway. A soft hush fills the room, hope and sorrow entwined, fragile but present. May 3rd, 2024, evening, Jonathan's living room. Muted lighting casts soft shadows. The family gathers around the television. Jonathan, Faith, now older, a young girl, extended family, maybe friends. The weather outside is mild, spring settling over Florida. They tune in to an episode of 2020 titled The Hungryland Homicide. The program revisits the case, interviews with MCSO Lieutenant Yesenia Carde, prosecutors, footage of the preserve, the plastic tote, remnants of evidence. The national audience sees their tragedy broadcast. As the story unfolds on screen, the family's faces reflect a mix of emotions: grief, anger, relief, sorrow. For the community outside, old wounds reopen. People who moved on are forced to remember. For the family, the spotlight brings both pain and vindication. The program includes an interview with a former neighbor. She mentions seeing a suspicious car near the preserve a few days before Tricia disappeared. A detail that was never in police reports. She says she didn't think to report it at the time. Now she wonders if it matters. This raises new questions. Might there have been unknown accomplices? Could the case conceal more than one person's involvement? Were there warning signs missed? Online comment threads explode. Some demand re-examination. Others fear the past reopening. For the town, the broadcast stirs old trauma. For the family, it's a reminder that closure is incomplete. The feature also raises doubts about the missing remains, the plea deal, the possibility of more undiscovered evidence. Some advocates argue the sentence was too lenient. Public trust, already wounded, feels fragile. After the broadcast ends, the family sits quietly, absorbing the exposure, the weight of memory. The television screen fades to black. Only the soft sound of breathing fills the room. Memory raw, unresolved. May 4th, 2024, next morning. Outside the Hungryland Preserve entrance. Early light filters through the trees. Mist hangs over the swampy land. Jonathan arrives with a small group of supporters and a local journalist. They place a small plaque near the preserve entrance. Tricia's photo is mounted on it, along with her name and dates. The journalist takes photographs, records brief statements. Supporters leave flowers, roses, lilies, handwritten notes. Jonathan speaks softly. He talks about hope for truth. Maybe authorities can revisit clues. Maybe there are more remains somewhere, waiting to be found. Maybe the case isn't as closed as it seems. A supporter mentions a memory, seeing a man in a truck near the preserve the week before Tricia disappeared, never reported. The remark, though unverified, seeds new doubt in the community's mind. What else was overlooked? What else remains hidden? The local paper runs a follow-up article. Family returns to Hungryland, asks if justice is really done. Community members respond. Some call for reopening the file. Others warn against reopening old trauma. The debate reignites. Official records show the case is closed. No legal mechanism compels authorities to dig again. This raises tension between public demand and legal closure. Some feel betrayed. Others accept the limitations. Jonathan leaves the plaque by the preserve entrance. He walks away slowly as dawn breaks fully over the trees. Birds call in the distance. The plaque glints in soft morning light. Trees stand silent. Wind rustles Spanish moss. Memory anchored, but questions hang heavy. Several months later, Jonathan's home. Night. The air is calm, quiet. Jonathan sits with his wife and Faith, now older and more aware. Family friends visit occasionally, offering support. They discuss how to talk to Faith about her mother when she's old enough to understand. They want to present the truth, tragic, painful, but also emphasize love and hope. They vow to keep telling stories about Tricia, not just how she died, but how she lived, her kindness, her service, her love. Family photo albums are reopened. Letters and mementos of Tricia are collected. Plans are made for a memory book. Something Faith can hold, read, treasure. Something that preserves Tricia's life, not just her death. Jonathan confesses his fear to his wife one night. He worries Faith might grow up feeling she was somehow responsible, that her existence caused the tragedy. He resolves to shield her from guilt, to show her she is loved, wanted, cherished. Within the local community, a small foundation begins to form. Neighbors discuss ways to support families of victims. Resources for grief counseling. Advocacy for stronger domestic violence protections. The crime has left a lasting scar, but also a resolve to prevent future tragedies. Community healing is slow. Some still feel the case was mishandled. Others have moved on, or tried to. Distrust towards safety in Hobe Sound remains. Parents watch their children more closely. Neighbors lock doors that once stayed open. Over the following months, the memory book project progresses. Community foundation paperwork is drafted. Life continues, shaped by loss, but not defined by it. A soft lullaby plays in the background as Faith sleeps. A journal sits open on the table, waiting to be filled. Hope flickers, fragile but present, 1 year after the 2020 broadcast. Evening at a local community center in Hobe Sound. The weather is humid, warm. A small gathering takes place under string lights. Family, community members, supporters, maybe a representative from local law enforcement. The objective is to hold a memorial event, remembering Tricia, raising awareness of domestic violence, supporting affected families. Speeches are given. Jonathan talks about Tricia's love, her kindness, her service as a nurse and Air Force veteran. Community leaders speak about the importance of vigilance, support, and breaking the silence around abuse. Survivors of domestic violence share their stories, voices trembling but strong. Candles are lit. Names are read aloud, Tricia's among them. A moment of silence. The room feels fragile, raw, but unified. There's a sense of collective mourning, but also collective resolve. An event program lists dates and names. Photos of Tricia are displayed on tables. Donation jars for the foundation sit near the entrance. The local press records comments, takes photographs. During the memorial, a neighbor stands and speaks. Her voice shakes. She says, "I remember a rusted truck by the preserve that I never mentioned to cops. I'm sorry." The admission doesn't solve anything, but it underscores how many small pieces of memory go unshared, potentially obstructing truth. Awareness dawns among the attendees. Justice requires more than legal closure. It requires community honesty. It requires people speaking up, even years later, even when it's uncomfortable. Local media report the event. Headlines call it a night of healing, remembrance, resolve. Some residents vow to support survivors. Others ponder whether more should be done legally. The town's character has shifted, forever changed. Some community members oppose reopening the investigation. Some fear stirring trauma. The foundation has limited funds. Sustaining momentum feels difficult. As the memorial ends, supporters blow out candles. Light fades, but in the darkness, the name Tricia Todd lingers. Quiet solidarity, fragile hope, memory preserved. The last candle extinguishes, darkness settles, but the name remains, whispered in hearts, carried forward.